This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
I'm Roby Brock. Welcome to this edition of Talk Business and Politics. 1 year ago today, this was the headline on talkbusiness.net. Governor Hutchinson, first presumptive coronavirus case. The lead, Governor Asa Hutchinson in Arkansas, has identified its first presumptive COVID-19 case. The patient, a resident of Pine Bluff, is in isolation, and preliminary testing has been forwarded to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, where a second test will be conducted to confirm or reject the first results. Hutchinson said the potential coronavirus patient had traveled to another state in the U.S. and was not an international traveler. The governor made the disclosure at a cabinet meeting in Little Rock on Wednesday, March 11th. Governor Asa Hutchinson made remarks today from Jefferson Regional Health Center in Pine Bluff, where that first patient was identified and treated. Here is some from his commemorative speech.
And that's right. I'm here for really one reason, and that is to commemorate this moment in history a year ago, but also to express thanks to those that have been on the front line here at Jefferson Regional Medical Center. And I'm proud of you. I haven't been able to be here day in and day out because you're busy doing your work, and I had a few responsibilities myself. But the whole state of Arkansas is grateful for not just what you've done in healing patients and ministering to people, but also how you set the example for the state in terms of resilience, in terms of setting best practices, and help us to learn from day one to day 365. And the progress that's been made to a large extent is the result of the work that you've done here at this hospital. So please give yourself a round of applause. Thank you for what you've done. I also want to recognize Dr. Jose Romero, who's our Secretary of Health, I've worn out two secretaries during this time. Secretary Nate Smith was here at the very beginning a year ago, and then Dr. Romero has ably come in to provide assistance and lead the effort, and we're grateful for him. Mayor Washington, it is good to be in your city again. And James, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well done. Well done. Now, I did get to meet you a year ago. I know that you've been through it, but thanks for being here and being, just by your living example, sharing a story of this last year. It means a lot to the people of Arkansas that you're willing to be here and commemorate this day. And really, I wanted to start just by a moment reflecting back on 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago, the United States of America was attacked by terrorists. We lost almost 3,000 Americans during that time, and we called it our 9/11. Well, 1 year ago, we had our first case of COVID-19 here in the state of Arkansas, and it became our 3/11. And it was our challenge, it was our emergency. On that same day, I declared a public health emergency. We went to work, and we've been at work for the last year. And during that time, we've lost 5,300 Arkansans to the coronavirus. But at the same time, we've seen the resilience of Arkansans. We've seen the magnitude of the capability of our pharmaceutical industry in being able to produce a vaccine that can cure people, or that can immunize people from this deadly disease. And that is the best of America, where we're number one in health, where we can put our researchers to work and say, we've got a problem. What's the solution? And you do it in record time. You get the solution through our scientists, our healthcare workers, and then you put it in production in warp speed. And the result is that today we have almost 17% of Arkansans with one dose of the vaccine. That is progress. That is the human spirit. That is the American spirit in action. And in Arkansas, we've seen that same resilience. We've seen that same leadership and that same commitment to our by our healthcare professionals. And I know I came here to honor you and to thank you, but I also want to take a moment to thank all of our healthcare professionals across the state of Arkansas. Bo Ryle leads the hospital effort, and Those in the hospitals have done an incredible job. Those are frontline physicians and our respiratory specialists. They have had to fight the battle day in and day out, and through their work, they've developed better therapeutics and better management. And the result of that is the combination of the vaccine at work and the combination of better therapeutics means that today we drop below 300 in hospitalization statewide, and that is the lowest that we've had in probably 6 or 7 months. And so we're making progress, and yes, this is not a formal report, but I'll tell you that today's numbers are down, hospitalizations are down, and we're making continued progress in this fight against the virus. And we want that day where the pandemic ends, and that day will come. And that day will come when we set the example for everyone to get the vaccine, for everyone to have that life-saving capability and protection that will save lives, and that is our goal. We've learned a lot during this time. We've learned to adapt, we've learned to innovate, and we've learned to fight through the challenges that we face. So with that, I express my thanks to you, and I want to end by noting that there is a sign of memory and a sign of hope for the future, and that is through the donation of the Forestry Division of our Arkansas Department of Agriculture is donating 10,000 oak saplings that you can pick up free of charge to plant in your yard or somewhere in memory of a lost loved one during this pandemic. And as setting the example, I talked to the First Lady, and the First Lady and I will be planting an oak seedling on the mansion grounds with a recognition of lives lost during this pandemic and the hope for the future that we all have. Thank you, and God bless you.
That's Governor Asa Hutchinson in Pine Bluff at Jefferson Regional Hospital. When we come back, what lessons have we learned over the past year? Dr. Cam Patterson, UAMS Chancellor, joins me for a conversation. It's an excerpt from our upcoming weekend television interview. And later, Speaker of the House Matthew Shepard holds his weekly press conference. He's a 2-term Speaker of the House. Could he be a 3-term Speaker? Find out after this. Talk Business and Politics is sponsored in part by Capital Advisors Group and...
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.
They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But if you're looking for something more, Walmart has you covered. We provide quality care, no appointment necessary. Whether you're looking for fresh, healthy groceries to fill your prescription, get a flu shot, or pick up your next pair of glasses, we're standing by with in-store health professionals available across the country to offer patient-first, affordable care whenever you need it. Apples, optional.
Dr. Cam Patterson, Chancellor of the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, has been a steady hand at the helm of the COVID-19 crisis over the past 12 months. I've got a major interview with him this weekend on our television program, but today we'll play you an excerpt from that interview. It's got the most important question that I wanted to hear him answer. What lessons have we learned over the past year? 1 year ago to the day, we were acknowledging the first presumptive case of coronavirus, of COVID-19 in Arkansas. It was a Pine Bluff resident who had come down with that. Let's talk about over the course of the last year. What do you think are some of the lessons that we have learned in terms of preparing for another medical crisis at some point in time?
Well, that's a good question. I think the first lesson is 1 year can seem like a decade when so much is going wrong. I think as we are beginning the process of thinking through what worked for us and what didn't work for us, There is a lot of our playbook that we have run over the past 365 days that we would run again. Our team at UAMS, and frankly, the whole healthcare system across the state, really coalesced around solving this problem. If I think about what we would do differently, how we would prepare for the next time this comes up, we didn't have the playbook on the shelves. We had to put together the plays as we went along, and I know that in preparation for the next pandemic that we have, and inevitably we will have one, that we will be better prepared. I also, we've all learned how powerful messaging education is, not only for the public, but for the policymaking contingent, getting facts out, making sure that people are getting correct information is so important. And we've seen the unfortunate power of misinformation over the course of the past year.
That's Dr. Cam Patterson, Chancellor of the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. There'll be much more to that interview on our Sunday Talk Business and Politics television program. Be sure to check in with us on Sunday morning for that show statewide. When we come back, Speaker of the House Matthew Shepard right after this. Talk Business and Politics is sponsored in part by Impact Management Group and
we have a large commitment to our solar for good reason. It lowers customers' rates. It's emissions-free.
Entergy Arkansas is the largest provider of solar in the state of Arkansas.
Utility-scale solar is much more economic for customers. We're going to operate it. We're going to maintain it. We're going to focus on it. That's what we do for a living.
We want to continue to find ways to partner with our customers to meet their renewable energy goals.
Customers want this. We want to provide it. So our commitment is for the long term.
Stepping into the unknown, it can be difficult to find the way. But with the compassion of the cross and the security of the shield, obstacles become openings. As we have for more than 65 years, we'll continue to light the way, using our knowledge to create new healthcare solutions, giving you the power to shine forward to whatever awaits tomorrow. Arkansas Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Live fearless.
Speaker of the House Matthew Shepard has led the 100-member chamber for the last two legislative sessions, the 92nd and the 93rd General Assembly, the one that we're in right now. Could he be the Speaker of the House for the 94th General Assembly? I asked him that question in his weekly press conference today. Mr. Speaker, usually by this time in the session, I am hearing names of people who might be angling to run for Speaker of the House in the next legislative General Assembly. And I'm not hearing a lot of names right now. Are you planning to run for a third term as Speaker?
Well, Roby, you know me that I kind of take things a day at a time and a step at a time. I would say that I have had a number of members that have encouraged me to consider that. That's something that I am considering, but the fact that I even consider that or would make any decision, that's really predicated on where the membership is and whether there's strong support for that. Because quite frankly, I'm not looking to try and overstay my welcome, but I am open and to considering that and am considering that. But that's based on the encouragement from a number of members. But my focus right now is really on the session at hand, the legislation at hand. That's where it really has to be first and foremost, because as we all know, day in and day out, during a regular session, we've got a lot of issues here on our plate. But that's where I would say things stand. Looking at it, considering it, but the focus first and foremost is on the session.
I could chase some of those members down, I suppose, but what's been the nature of their encouragement? What's their argument to you besides we like you and you're a good leader and you're a nice guy?
I think that, I think you could probably talk to them. I think that what is it that members mentioned to me?
Yes.
Is just, I think it goes back to maybe people are comfortable with how I've handled things, that I think I generally don't try and micromanage things. I let the committees work, let the committee chairs handle their business, let members run bills and that are important to them. I think that what people approach me about is just in a hyper partisan environment. What some members message to me is they feel like that I've been able to and kind of bridge some of that divide and keep the House moving ahead and operating in a functional and efficient manner. But that's really probably a question for the membership, but that's what some have approached me with. But again, I'm just trying to do the job at hand and take it a day at a time.
Speaker of the House, Matthew Shepard. We may be saying that for a few years. We'll see. That is all for today's Talk Business and Politics. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.